In this video, I will take you on a tour of what I call the Big Book, which is your master data set from your ERP. This has all the data for your general ledger accounts. It's comprised of 4 worksheets in Excel, and it's based on your GL numbers here in column A. The Big Book has nearly 1,700 rows, 1 row for each general ledger account. Alongside that are the corresponding descriptions, and then year by year, your adopted budget, your final budget, and your actual numbers. As you continue to the right, the same data appears for each year. Here you see 2024, 2025, and then your 2026 adopted budget. Further to the right, I have a number of user-defined fields to reflect fund information, department information, bars, source and function, and bars expense objects. Your Big Book uses table slicers, which are navigation aids to help you move through the 1,700 rows in your book. Slicers enable you to isolate data in your big table by simply selecting a button. Here I'm going to create a second window in the same book so you can see side by side how they work. Here is your primary book, and if you wanted to see just the debt service subset of your general ledger, you press the button, and then you can see that the total rows are reduced from 1,700 to 70 for the entire timeline. The slicers are set up to isolate fund information, but also other categories from your general ledger. Here, for example, you could use Control to select all of your REIT funds to just see that subset in the table. Perhaps you're trying to find or edit one of your fields. To clear the slicers, you just go to the upper right and hit that red X. Other slicer types are for department. Here you can see the finance department. Still further to the right on the slicers, you can isolate all kinds of bars information. Here I'll isolate salaries and wages, which is bars expense object 10. And in the main table, you can see that subset from the general ledger. One of the most useful features of slicers is how it enables you to see all of the relationships within your general ledger. For example, any slicer button that you select will show all of the relationships across your entire GL. Here, if I select finance, I can see which funds are having finance costs booked to them. I can also select taxes to see which funds receive tax revenues and what types. Or I can select capital to see where all the capital costs are booked by department or fund. Though your Big Book is 1,700 rows tall, updates to any component of the book is made very easy using VLookup. On the VLookup tab, I have a number of color-coded VLookup categories that correspond to the categories in the Big Book. Here, for example, I'm showing you department in purple or fund in blue. Each one corresponds back to the master table. VLookup is a way to easily update not only your named categories, but your final numbers. VLookup is a formula that says, for a given field, such as general ledger number or some subset of the general ledger number, go to this table and find that number, and then return the value that is 2 or 3 or however many columns to the right. And this way you can just update the values or the names in your VLookup tables, and they will all automatically update the master table. This eliminates any tedious manual updates that you might otherwise have to do. The final worksheet in this workbook is a pivot table. This is a summary of all of the data in your master table, which also has slicers to facilitate navigation. A pivot table uses fields that correspond to the columns in your master table, which you can then arrange any way you like to drill down or drill back up for different details. For example, here I'll show the expense subset of your general ledger, and I'll open up the special revenue fund type to show all the special revenue funds, and then I'll further open up streets to show the different expense categories. With slicers, I can select fund type, for example, enterprise fund, and then I can use the slicers to see how many funds and which ones are categorized as enterprise funds. Or I can grab transfers in and out, and then by simply rearranging the order of the fields, here I'll open up the field list, and I just change the order. And now I can see transfers in and out by year to ensure that they balance or to troubleshoot if they don't. The pivot tables in this book are a convenient way to get a quick view to your data. But in a follow-up video, I'll show you more about how to use these in separate books to customize reports and other analytical tools for staff, management, and elected officials.